Well, I'm out on the revolt today in the gloom of the South Wales winter, and if I'm honest, I prefer the winter to be like this because I'm not a fan of that white stuff that falls from the sky. I do miss the South African weather though. A fair old breeze blowing today. Well, a couple of weeks ago I talked about the anti-cycling lobby and caused a bit of reaction. A lot of positive comments, some negative ones as well. And I read through some of these comments. The negative comments always started with, "I'm a cyclist, but..." If you tell me you're a cyclist and then you regurgitate all of the anti-cycling rhetoric, because that's all it is, then I'm going to suggest you're not a cyclist. I had a lecturer, English lecturer, many years ago, obviously, because I'm quite old now, and he said anything that comes before a but in a sentence is usually a lie. I'm not a racist, but I don't support the government, but I'm a cyclist, but. And so while I was reading these comments, and I was thinking, well, the things you're saying aren't true, and I know they're not true. So, where did you get the idea from? It's the same thing. It's the same arguments that you've heard time and time again amongst the anti-cycling brigade. And I came to the conclusion that really we're victims of a culture war. That's all it really is. And I mentioned it in the anti-cycling video. I mentioned the fact that social media's got a lot to do with it. But also, we've kind of got to a very strange and quite frightening time in our history where newspapers don't report news anymore. I mean, they've always tried to sensationalise things to sell more papers, but we're in this situation now where newspaper editors have a political allegiance and they report things, or should I say quite often make things up to help the politicians they support. So if the government does something really bad and they're a government-leaning newspaper, then instead of reporting that, they do a story trying to find something negative about the opposition party. And the government, I don't know, I can't speak for everywhere, but certainly in Britain and certain other places, the government is so absolutely corrupt, and they have caused such untold, irreversible damage to the country, and they are so unpopular. Culture wars are great for them because it'll stop you thinking about the real news. If they can make you angry about some other group of people, it could be foreigners, it could be cyclists, it could be literally anyone they can think of that they think will create a reaction. And us poor cyclists, well, we don't really want to get involved in that. We just want to ride our bikes. And to a large extent, and this will be controversial, Jeremy Clarkson's got a lot to do with it. Him of Top Gear fame, because Clarkson spent a long time on Top Gear criticising cyclists. And it was a big joke, you know. It was all fun. Except the real problem is people are stupid. So a lot of them took it seriously. I mean, Clarkson has himself been seen out riding a bike. He's playing a character on Top Gear. And people just don't seem to be able to understand that. If you're as old as me, you will have heard of a musician called Alice Cooper. And Alice Cooper, a great sense of humour. There was this, I don't know where it started, again a culture war of religious people claiming that all popular music was evil, was inspired by the devil, and all of this kind of thing. Alice Cooper, well, they considered him to be really bad, and they said that he was rebelling because his father was a Methodist minister and he had turned against his father and all of this sort of thing. And it was all rubbish. Because as he himself said, he said, I'm playing a character. It's an acting gig. And even his wife said, you know, when he goes out the door, he's Alice Cooper. When he comes back, he's Vincent Vernier. I mean, I like Clarkson. I'm not criticising him personally. I find him very amusing. But you see, that's because I can tell the difference between his act and reality. And that's unfortunately what's happened here. As cyclists, you're told the same thing. All cyclists go through red lights. And it's not true. I do see a lot of car drivers going through red lights. I don't seem to worry too much about that. But there again, that's part of the age of the self. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously people shouldn't go through red lights, except me. But cyclists don't all go through red lights. I will admit that if you ride around a big city, London, Bristol, something like that, a lot more cyclists will go through red lights because they're not out just riding their bikes, they're going to work. And they're just as late as everybody else sitting in their cars. That's how culture wars work. A culture war picks on one thing that one person does and tries to persuade you that they're all the same. You're not going to ride very long in South Wales without a bit of torrential rain. And everybody's got a story of somebody that's claiming benefits and has got a Sky TV and goes on holiday to Mallorca. I can't actually name the person, but you know, thought it was a friend of a friend. Somebody told me about so and so, and you know, all of this sort of thing. So it's mostly bollocks. And before you know it, everybody claiming benefits is sitting at home watching Sky TV with his feet up, living the life of Riley. And as I said, there may be one or two, but there's not many. Well, that cyclists, we're just caught up in that. You know, nobody really cares about cyclists until some group on Facebook starts winding them up. or some government minister starts saying he wants to clamp down on cyclists. Never been a problem before, but now all of a sudden he needs to clamp down. And then all of a sudden everybody starts getting involved in it. Wow. This rain really is bad. I was expecting a bit of rain today, but nothing like this. Sensible people start questioning, why are you anti-cycling? And they haven't really got an answer. And that's when they start saying, well, yeah, but cyclists go through red lights. Cyclists ride across the whole road. Cyclists cut in and out of the cars. All of these kind of things. I've been driving for more years than I care to remember. It'll be 40 years next year. And in that time, I've never ever had a cyclist crash into me. The perpetrators of the culture war will tell you that it happens to them once a week. Well, one I found really interesting, and this is the one that gets me the most, and this is the one that we really need to address. And I'd like people to comment, and let's discuss how we can do this, because what we really need to do is change the culture. Because one of the comments, as I said, has really amazed me, was that cyclists are not compatible with the modern world. The modern world, according to this person, the modern world is designed for high-speed vehicles, and all other vehicles should be taken off the road. Really the culture that needs to be broken. That and the entitlement. Because again, the idea that cyclists shouldn't be allowed on the road because it prevents me from doing what I want to do. That's the culture. The culture of believing that roads were designed for cars, because it's simply not the case. The roads were here many years before cars were invented, and so we need to kind of get over this idea that the car is the priority. I mean, this comment where this guy said that the road system was designed, or should I say modern life, designed for high-speed vehicles. And really, that's what the neoliberalism system has generated. Deliberately. Was this idea that money, business, work was far more important than quality of life. Generating money is more important than clean air and people's happiness and people's health and well-being. Look, I'm not criticising if people go to work, do their job. But I want to end this idea that that's the only thing that matters.